Hume.
Thank you, Acting Deputy President. Outside her Traralgon home in my home state of Victoria, Gayle Potter was run over and killed by her husband. She leaves 3 children behind. Jacqueline Francis died of stab wounds, murdered by one of her male patients in Perth, and she too leaves behind 3 children. Dannyll Goodsell's devastatingly injured body was found by firefighters at her home in Ballarat. A man known to her has been arrested and charged with her murder, and her 2 young children are now motherless. Kristie Powell was killed in her Wollongong home, dying from extensive injuries. Police have charged a man known to her with murder. She has previously contacted police, concerned by the death threats that he had messaged her. And Kristie's 5-month-old baby was found unharmed, but just metres from her body. A 25-year-old unnamed woman from Palmerston was killed at the hands of a man who breached a domestic violence order, and he has been charged with her murder, assaulting her to the point that her body could take no more, and she died. So what connection do these women share? They were all murdered at the hands of men known to them in the 3 weeks since our Parliament last sat. Just last Thursday, Erana Nahu's neighbours called the police after hearing screams echo through the night. When emergency services arrived, she was found stabbed to death in her bed. Her partner has been charged with her murder, and her children face a future without parents. As her neighbour observed, it's not fair. 2 babies that have got to grow up without their mum. Well, Erana's neighbour is right. It isn't fair. It isn't fair that the perverse actions of these men have ended the lives of innocent women. It isn't fair that their sons and daughters will grow up motherless, with violence shadowing their youth. It isn't fair that their family and friends must gather at funerals to mourn their all-too-preventable loss. And it isn't fair that over the next few weeks, this will all be repeated. Last year, 48 women were murdered, and over 93% of these were at the hands of men, and over 70% from domestic violence. And in addition, 17 children were murdered. Just since this January alone, 54 women have been murdered, with close to 90% of these cases being perpetrated by men. Now, these statistics shock us to the core. I want to make clear I am not promoting a message of all men, not in the slightest. We know that women commit these crimes also, and we know that it is a minority of men who perpetrate violent crimes against women. Yet, whether we wish to admit it or not, there exists a clear issue of gendered violence. Violence against women is now the leading cause of death, disability and injury for women between the ages of 18 and 44. The leading cause of death, injury and disability for women between the ages of 18 and 44. Not cancer, not car crashes, not workplace injuries, violence against women. And violence from a man who purported to love her. For Gayle, Jacqueline, Dannyell, Kristie, Erana and the nameless others, there is nothing we can do but fight to seek justice. There are, however, hundreds of future victims for whom we can fight right now, whom we can seek to protect. Awareness is crucial, but even more so is action. Earlier this year, I met with an incredible group of women seeking to address the epidemic of family violence in the eastern region of Melbourne. This organisation, the Eastern Domestic Violence Service, or EDVOS as it is more commonly known, processes upwards of 700 cases referred to them by Victoria Police each month, 700 per month, and they are making phenomenal inroads. Since their partnership with the Vic Police, they've tracked a 108% increase in self-reporting. Now, this is a crucial statistic because it speaks to the power of preventative action, bringing at-risk women and their families into contact with help before instances of public or emergency reporting are required. And this is mirrored in a notable decrease in 000 emergency calls that are made in the municipalities that EDVOS cover, which is at odds with the statewide trend. The Primary Prevention of Violence Against Women strategy was rolled out in 2016, providing EDVOS with a unique opportunity to work across the continuum of family violence, from primary prevention to early intervention and response. And they're developing innovative and effective ways of meeting the needs of women and families in violent or at-risk environments. An example of this is a rollout of something called the HAIR program, modelled off the successful Cut It Out program in the US. EDVOS, in fact, partners with hairdressers across the state to train them in identifying the signs of domestic violence in their clients. It gives hairdressers, some of the most trusted and confident and confided in professionals, the ability to point those in need of help to the organisations and the bodies that can offer them the range of services they require, from emergency relocation to financial aid. Jenny Jackson, the Executive Director of EDVOS, raised with me the all-too-important fact that 89% of abuse victims also experienced financial control and manipulation. Domestic and family violence is the leading cause of homelessness for women and their children, largely due to the fact that women in these situations are forced to leave the family home. They don't have access to funds or to the ability to assert ownership and control over family assets. One of the greatest preventative measures being advocated by organisations like EDVOS is the need for female financial independence. Women who have financial security have far greater autonomy. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean being the main breadwinner in the family, although I am very proud of the fact that female participation in the workforce is at record highs under this government. The issue is far more about financial capability, the knowledge, the understanding and the control of household finances. Control is the key word here. All forms of abuse are in fact about control. Emotional or physical abuse depletes resilience, but financial abuse reduces confidence and capacity. It is financial capability and the empowerment that comes with it that can prevent violence at the start or ensure the ability to leave a relationship can be enhanced. There are thousands of volunteers and workers across our country who are meeting the challenges associated with domestic violence, and I wish to thank them all for their selflessness. Thank you to those who fight day in and day out to defend those who cannot defend themselves. To fight to prevent domestic violence doesn't end with lowering the death toll. The battles are being fought on the frontiers of emotional and sexual abuse, of respect for women, and of equality of opportunity. There is so much yet to be done. But tonight, in this chamber, what I would like to do is remember the lives of Gayle Potter, Jacqueline Francis, Dannyll Goodsell, Kristie Powell, Erana Nahu, and the unnamed 25-year-old. It is my sincerest hope that justice is delivered in each and every circumstance. Statistically, another Australian woman, most likely a mother of young children, will be murdered this week by her partner. As we sit in this chamber, we should be keenly aware of her life hanging in the balance. We don't know yet who she is, but we do know that she will senselessly die at the hand of someone who should have cherished her. There is no one to fix the prevalence of domestic violence in our communities, but at bare minimum, we must acknowledge that we can do better, and we must do better now. Originally, Acting Deputy Chair, this was where my speech was going to end. But this afternoon, as I was putting the full stop and the ink was drying, I learned of a 22-year-old woman from Napoon in Queensland who has also been killed. A man known to her has been charged with the assault that led to her death. And indeed, we must all do better.